Zack, the Rhino Zack mascot. Look at all these new emojis you can put out there now. Oh, hey. You guys are live, huh? I'm over here fiddling with the computer. Well, welcome. Welcome. It's your Tuesday live show. Yes, it is. Come on board. Everybody say hello. Tell me where you're coming in from. Tell me what you're doing. So just hop on board and talk to us today. I'm excited. I want to talk to you guys today about keeping yourself safe. What are some things you need to keep in mind when it comes to business structure? Now, you know, that's always something that everybody is interested in when it comes to business structure and, you know, what do I need to do and how do I need to stay safe and what should I have in place and can I do this in my own name? There's lots to talk about, and I want to help you guys really get clear on what you need to be thinking about when it comes to structure and how that looks. And so we're definitely going to be digging a little bit into that. And also remember, this show is all about you guys. It's about our real estate investing talk show. That's what our Tuesdays are. Every Tuesday we come to you with our real estate investing talk show. We do that at 12:30 Eastern time zone. And our Dig Deeper show tomorrow, we do it every Wednesday at 12:30 Eastern time zone. So make sure you're part of both of those. It helps you grow your business, gets you engaged, keeps you moving forward. So today's show is the Real Estate Investing Talk Show. And yes, I am Zack Childress, and I am your real estate coach. And that's why we do this with you, and to hear your story, to help you with your story. You can also check me out on Instagram, Zack_Childress. Lots of great inspiration over there and motivation. You can also check us out on YouTube, reisuccessacademy.com/YouTube, and you're obviously on Facebook right now. So be part of that. Stay connected, stay with us, and we're always bringing you the latest and the greatest information to help you grow your business. I am joined today with the lovely Jill. Everybody say hi to Jill. Up close and personal there. So that camera is real close on you right there.
It is. I could lick it.
That's a long tongue. So come on board, join us, talk to us, tell us where you're coming from. Let us know who we got here today, Jill.
We have Tamala from West Texas.
West Texas.
Sterling says good afternoon. Mona says good morning. Mona's back from Albuquerque.
Awesome.
Diamond Star says hi, I'm back and happy to be here.
Oh, Diamond.
Curtis says hello. Mike from California is here.
Mike.
He'll be with us for the end of the month, actually. Christy, she says hello. Manny, hello, lovely Jill.
The lovely Jill.
David from Pennsylvania, he says, hey, Zack.
Awesome.
And Scott Sweet says hello.
Hey, so listen, some of you helped me name the other rhino. We got to name this rhino. We got to give the big rhino a name.
I think that should be the Zack Attack.
No, we can't call it the Zack Attack.
What?
I'm Zack Attack.
I know, but it's like the mirror image of you, right?
I hope it's not the mirror image. I mean, you know, I'm not the sharpest looking tool in the shed, but I mean, give me some credit, Jeff.
The soul image.
The soul image.
You gotta get it deep there.
I hear you. I gotta name the rhino. I need to name the rhino. You guys could help me name that rhino. So we do have an open mic right now. So that means if any of you have any real estate questions, or if you have a need in real estate, I'd love to talk about it. I'd love to see what you got. We could call him the boss. That's the boss right there. Being a real estate boss. The cluster buster.
I like that.
The cluster buster. I love it. Or we just call him the boss, because we are the real estate boss. I'm a real estate boss, so I like it. Hey, listen, as you guys are coming on board, I've got an announcement to make. Yes, I do. We are out. We are sold out of our VIP and our golds for the 3-day event coming up in Tampa, Florida, June 8th and through the 10th, where we have our Do Deals event. Yes, we call it the Freedom from Flipping event, but it is a Do Deals event. I told you guys we were going to sell out, and we have sold out of our VIP and our gold ticket access, which means the only thing left is our general admission, and I have 15 seats in my hand, and I think I just stopped in the hall, and this number is now wrong. We do not have 15 anymore. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I am down to 9 now. We have 9 seats left for our general admission into the Do Deals event in Tampa, Florida, June 8th through the 10th. I got 9 left. 9, that's it. That's all I got. And I encourage you, if you have not registered, you need to get registered. I tell you guys all the time, we're going to sell out. We're going to sell out. This is general admission. What is the general admission? The general admission is the $97 seat deposit. That's all it is, which means you go all 3 days. You call our office the following week, and the $97. Did I say 96? No. It's 97. $97 gets credited back to you. However you choose to pay for it, it gets credited back. So I got 9 of them. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I got 9 of them. 9 left, guys. So you don't want to miss that event. It is all about getting you in the understanding of how to start doing deals, learning the strategies from tier 1 wholesaling. We're going to be talking about our 4-quadrant system of wholesaling. I got a lot of new training coming out to this event. Literally, if you've been to our other events, it's awesome, but this one we actually have new training we're putting in because the market is shifting. So the new training is all geared around the direction in the market we are right now. So we're going to be introducing what we call our 4-quadrant wholesaling system. We're going to be teaching that at the Do Deals event in Tampa. We're also going to be teaching how we get free properties and make cash flow off those properties. We're going to be talking about how to get into rehabs. That we're going to be going over the 9 simple steps that you need to memorize and learn to be successful and to make rehabbing easy. And we're going to be talking about the passive cash flow from buying and holding. So this is why we call it a Do Deals event. You're going to be learning so much at this event. You need to get out to Tampa, Florida. When? Well, look on the screen. Tampa, Florida. You need to be there June 8th through the 10th. You can always go online, or you can call the office at 707 247-4248 to get one of your tickets reserved and get your seat deposit in. I'm sorry, there are no more silvers. There are no more golds. I told you guys they would sell out. We're a month away from the event, and we've already sold those out. And we're almost sold out of the space that they've given us. But I got 9 seats left. So is that going to be yours? Whew. Is that going to be yours? Are you going to get this one ticket right here? Well, maybe you bring in your spouse with you, then you need 2 tickets, right? So get your tickets locked in, guys. Get your tickets locked in. They still have rooms in the hotel. I'm guessing they do. I don't know. I didn't check with the hotel. I just checked with the number of seats that we have available. So with that said, let's talk about some things that you need to be thinking about when it comes to your business, okay? When it comes to your business, we always want to know, how do we stay safe when it comes to our real estate investing business?
Before you go into that, I want you to give a shout out to Julian Pratt. He's new.
Julian, welcome, man. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's a good place you're here. If you're new with us, I love that. Stay with us. Stay tuned. We do them every Tuesday and every Wednesday. We come to you live to talk about real estate, some aspect of it. Right now we're inside of what's called a 24-week challenge. We're challenging you guys to stay in the business every week. That's the challenge. And so I'm helping you guys do that. And the way I'm helping you stay in the business every week is each week I'm bringing you one part of the 24-week challenge. For instance, this week we are talking about business structure and what are some of the ways that you can stay safe when it comes to this business and how to protect yourself when we're in real estate investing. So welcome to the show, Julian. Emma. Hello, Emma. Zeros. Is that how you say his name? Zeros?
Zeros. But that's actually Damien. He is a coaching student.
Damien's on here, one of our coaching students. Love it. Love it, love it, love it.
And
so
we met Emma way back at the last event in Tampa.
When was that?
Ian.
With Ian?
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Yeah, she's Canadian.
And that's how you remember. Canadian. Did you know Canadian is in North America?
You can thank Jill for that.
Look, I didn't stay in school very long.
That was probably one of my favorite memories.
Yes. So listen, I know we can sit here and have a lot of fun talking, but you guys are here to try to learn something today, and I'm here to try to teach you something today. So with that said, I want you to understand structure, right? What is structure? Structuring of a business is how do we position ourselves in a marketplace full of predators that want to do nothing but sue you for something for free, right? It is the world we live in, especially if you're on here and you are living in California. California probably has the most lawsuits filed in any other state out there. And so I could not move out of California fast enough, to be honest with you. I loved California. I loved everything about it. I loved the weather. I lived in the Bay Area off by the Carquinez Strait, a little place called Benicia and Vallejo over there. 72-degree weather all year long. It was like perfect for me because, you know, I'm not a big fan of summer. I love fall and I love spring and I love, somebody asked me the other day, what are your favorite seasons? My favorite seasons are fall, spring, and Christmas. Yes, if you didn't know, Christmas is a season in my world. I was walking around today singing Christmas songs.
Yes, my favorite movie, and you butchered it.
I just love Christmas. Love everything about it. With that said, so if you're in California, you want to listen up to this, okay? So to stay safe, guys, you got to start thinking about entity structure. You got to start thinking about what am I exposed to when it comes to real estate, and what are the different layers of exposure that I'm going to have to me. Now, you know, I get asked, well, Zach, if I don't have an Indy, can I go out and do real estate? Well, of course you can. Yeah, you can buy and sell real estate in your own name, but are there some repercussions to that? Absolutely, there's some repercussions. One is if you're buying and selling real estate within 12 months and that deal makes a profit and you gain from that, what's called short-term capital gains, and you're gaining personally from it, well, you might want to look into a little thing called real estate dealer taxation law. And that one, if you get hit with it, can bite you really hard. Now, before, you know, I keep going any further, I just need to let you guys know that I am not an attorney. I'm not a CPA. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an accountant. I'm not any of that. I'm a real estate boss. And I'm not here to act like I'm giving you legal advice, and you should seek your own legal advice at any time. But I can absolutely tell you what I know to be true from my experience and what my legal team has shared with me. And part of that is understanding exposure, right? And so if you're doing it yourself, and you don't have the right entity structure set up, you expose yourself. And what that means is one is like what we were talking about, that dealer taxation law. And man, it can get you. I had a friend out in Colorado was investing for 10 years. Now, Jill, listen to this. 10 years he was investing. Okay. Got hit by the IRS because he was doing it in an entity, which he had that right. But his entity, he had it as, which it was an LLC, which is set up as a pass-through profit. So he was gaining profit for 10 years. IRS hit him as a real estate dealer because that's the taxation law that they can use. And they retroactivated for 10 years on him. Taxes, penalties, interest. Shut him out of business, put him down. Couldn't pay it. It was so much that it compounded over the years.
I don't even know what I would do. I'd be calling you.
Well, he called me too. And I said, "There's nothing you can do, man." Like, I mean,
you got to pay it.
Yeah, you got to pay it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can put them on a payment plan. You know, you can do what's called a, I forget what the title of it is, but insolvent or something, not insolvent, but you can go back and show like a hardship and try to get them to, you know, settle something with you or put a payment plan together. But even on a payment plan, I think they wanted him to put so much money down before they'd even do a payment plan on the rest. But the problem with that is most investors aren't real clear on that. And so they just run out and start chasing it without having the right structure in place. And look, here's what I've learned years ago. Making money is easy. Once you understand how to change your mindset to know that the world is an abundance of money and other people have your money, you just got to figure out how to get it back. It's everywhere. There's opportunities everywhere. I mean, literally every moment you're in a clear state of focus, you will identify opportunities to make money. So making money is not the hard part. It's the two hard parts are taking the action to go after it and keeping it once you have it. Because let me tell you something. Once you start making it, everybody wants it. I don't care if it's the IRS, if it's your mama, your daddy, your brother, your sister, your neighbor, your cousin, your aunt, your niece, your kids. They all want it.
Your tenants.
Your tenants. That's right. Your buyer, your seller. They all want it. And they want it because they feel that you have it and you probably have more of it than you need. And so you should be giving them some of it too. And that's a hard lesson that I had to learn the hard way is that you can only be nice for so long before people start taking advantage of it. But one of the biggest people out there that sticks their hand in your pockets is the IRS and tenants, especially in landlording. And I'll explain why in a minute. But ain't that the truth, Patricia? That's funny. So I share that with you because you need to be aware of this. If you're not aware of this and you go down to your local CPA or your local H&R Block, they're not going to talk to you about this because they don't specialize in real estate investing, okay? You need to go to a real estate-driven CPA firm that understands real estate accounting, understands real estate liability, understands real estate exposure, and they can give you directions around this. Now, that takes me to the topic, which is the structure, okay? When we're structuring for protection, we have to keep in mind all these outside sources. And so, are there all kinds of different ways to open up a business? Yeah, absolutely. You could open up an Inc. incorporation, an S Corp, a C Corp. You could go open up an LLP, a limited liability partnership. You could go open up an LLC. And what's the difference in them, right? Well, a corporation, whether it be an S Corp or C Corp, they have benefits. And they also have weaknesses, right? So like S Corps and C Corps aren't really designed to create limitations between the owner of the company and the company itself, okay? So like if you're an S Corp, well, basically you are the S Corp. You are the company. You're using the company for, as they say, tax shelter or tax structure advantages, to have a company in place that you're doing business through. The other thing is the C C Corp, right? The C Corp allows us to create a company that is absolutely separate from us, meaning that it makes its own money, it pays its own taxes. It is an entity alone without us involved, even though we might own it and run it and manage it. But when you get into protection, you start moving more into like the LLPs and the LLCs. And so what is an LLP, right? Well, before I get into that, let's go back to the corporation. So why is something called an S Corp and why is something called a C Corp? Well, you know, an S corporation is just that. It is an S, meaning that it's taxed as an S. It is designed to be a pass-through tax entity, which means if you run that corporation all year and it makes $250,000, well, you personally file taxes on the profits of that company. Okay, what are the good of that taxation? Well, you file taxes on it and you pay it once, right? What's the bad of that taxes? Well, if you're in a super high tax bracket already because you're making a salary off of that company and the profits from that business is just getting absorbent and puts you in a different tax bracket, then why would you do that? You would then create a C Corp or taxed as a C. Now, what's the good of a taxation C? Well, it's just that. It's not a pass-through. It's a business that stands on its own. It's taxed on its own. Therefore, it doesn't ever show up on your end of the year tax filings. And so, you know, you have your filings, and let's say you want to cap yourself at $75,000 a year because you don't want to move into other tax brackets because your company's, you know, spinning off $250,000 a year in profit. Well, you have to weigh those odds out, right? Like, okay, if I stay at my salary at 75, I'm in this tax bracket. If I leave the company with its profits as a standalone, it's going to pay taxes on that. It's going to pay taxes as ordinary taxes of a company. It could be beneficial to separate those two. But people will say, yeah, but Zach, you got to pay double taxes if you take the company pays taxes on it, and then you pay yourself and you pay taxes on it. Yeah, you would if you start pulling money out of it, right? Or you could expense it to another company for management purposes, and that way it's an expense to one company, revenue to another company, and that company could be a pass-through. So you're being taxed once on it, right? So there's lots of ways that you could do it. You got to seek legal advice on that to make sure you're setting it up correctly, right? And so that takes us through the corporation structure. Now let's move over to the LLPs. Now, a lot of people I know like LLPs, but it's typically not because they are the sole owner of it. An LLP is simply limited liability partnerships. For an example, if me and you were to go into business together and you were going to be the managing partner, but I was coming in with a capital injection of, say, $100,000, and let's say I was entitled to 40% of that business, the beauty of it is me as a partner, I'm only liable to what I bring into the business. So if I bring 100,000 in, then yeah, I could lose that 100,000, but nothing more. Unless, you know, obviously they break the valve and there's mismanagement of the company. There's lots of other reasons. But just for a standard operating, negligence or something of that nature, or a frivolous lawsuit, if something was to happen in an LLP as a partner, I'm only liable for what I put in. Nothing more. Okay. And that's why you'll see a lot of LLPs when there's multiple partners in the deal because, you know, they want the 40 or the 30%, revenue from the business, but they don't want to be liable for anything else. And so that's one way to handle that. Now, the other way that you might want to look at is an LLC, limited liability corporation. It is the same as a corporation, right? It has the same ability to be taxed as an S or taxed as a C. It's just limited liability, which means that as the owner, I have limited liability in that LLC, which means it's standing alone, which means it creates a wall of protection between me and whomever is trying to come after that LLC, as long as I'm operating it correctly. And that's the thing that most people don't understand. They open up an LLC and they think, oh, I'm protected of an LLC. No, you're not. You got to operate it correctly. You got to have yearly meetings. You got to have recording of minutes. You can't, commingle funds. You got to have separate bank accounts, separate checking accounts. You can't pay one bill with the LLC with your personal money. You start doing that, and what happens is they can break the valve and say that you were using the company as a shelter and not as an actual company, that you're really the one that's operating the revenue from it. And so they go right through the LLC in a discovery period, and they come right after you directly. So if you have an LLC right now and you've had it for 4 or 5 years and you're like, oh my goodness, I haven't done any of that, it's okay. You go back and hold meetings. You just say, okay, I'm going to have a meeting today. This will be my 2017 end of the year meetings. I'm going to hold a meeting tomorrow. That'll be my 2016 meeting. You can always go back and have those meetings. And all it is a document that you fill out that says, hey, look, here's my updated minutes and meetings. And here's what we talked about. And here, and listen, and a meeting could be anything. It could be a meeting about what bank to pick to open your bank account. It could be a meeting about who you're going to use as your appraiser. It could be a meeting about, which contractor that you're going to use. I mean, it's not that difficult to hold a meeting with yourself, right? And if there's other people in the entity, then you just have it with them. But you have to have those meetings. You have to be, recording those meetings in your LLC binder, keeping up with those documents. You have to do that. And you have to make sure you don't co-mingle the funds to keep that LLC or any entity or structure in a good standing. The other side of it is you got to make sure you stay in good standing with the state. What is that they call it here, Jill? They always ask us for it when we go to close. Do you remember that?
It's they don't. The bank has to have a certification of validation.
A certification of validation.
That shows your company is real.
That shows your company's real, which basically is just saying you got to pay the state money, and then they're like, yeah, he's real. Yes. So it's just another way for them to dip into your pocket. So those are some things you got to keep in consideration when you're looking at entity and entity structure and how to stay safe. Now, the LLC, let's talk about that. Well, before I talk about the different ways to keep you safe with the LLC, what kind of questions we got, Joe? Anything coming in?
We do. Diamond says, what's the best protection plan when you first start out?
Well, we're going to be talking about that right here next.
Patrice, she says, going to a closing. She said she'll be back. She's got to go, but she'll be at the event in 2 weeks.
Awesome, Patricia. Or Patrice.
Manny says, we need an umbrella. Manny also says, this new tax law is going to benefit us.
Yes.
Terry Hester says, Terry Hester here. David, he says, I'm getting my LLC set up as we speak.
Awesome. That's even better news.
Richard, he says Greenville, North Carolina in here. Steve says, hey, Zach and Jill from Florida.
Hey, that's awesome. Hey, listen, I just want you guys to talk. If you're able to understand what I'm saying about structure, just type in, I get it. I just want to know you guys are understanding what I'm trying to teach you today. Just type in, I get it. If you're like listening to me right now and you're like, what in the world is he talking about structure? Type in, I don't get it.
And it's okay not to get it.
Oh, absolutely it is.
I mean, it takes several tries to set up an LLC sometimes.
Yeah. Listen, I didn't get it in the beginning. I didn't get it at all. I went around exposed like nobody's business. And so that was a big problem for me. So. Anybody?
And it's okay to be sent back from the probate office when you're trying to do your paperwork. I still get sent home, even though, how many have I set up for you now? And there's still times, because they change their processes all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. All right, good. You guys are getting it. All right, so let's move on over to the LLC, so that what we've been talking about. So the LLC is probably the number one entity that people set up for protection. And it's great. Don't get me wrong. I mean, there's a lot of great things with the LLCs. Now, could we dig deeper into talking about LLC series and umbrella LLCs and different layer stacking? We could. We're not going to today. We're going to talk about some simplicity that you could do. We will be talking about a lot of this at our summit. in December. When's the summit?
It is 11:30 through 12:2.
So it's December 11. No. Oh no, November 30th through December 2nd.
Yep.
We're gonna be at the summit in Tampa. So you guys coming to Tampa? We're coming back to Tampa in December, which is called our summit, and this is all next level stuff. This is about high level entity stuff, high level, Google marketing, Facebook marketing, direct mail, growth marketing, our business credit experts, our lines of credits, our entity structures, our accounting people, our asset protection people. I mean, this is like the summit is the whole next level. Like the 3-day events is our do deals event. This is where we get you doing deals. The summit is where we start getting you in the mindset of thinking, yeah, man, this is a business and I got to grow this thing. Okay. So you don't want to miss the summit. You don't want to miss the summit neither. All right. So LLC protection is really that. Now, what makes LLCs so easy is they're just so common and everybody knows how to set them up. People go down and, they'll do them online. They'll go to the corporation company.com and do them, and you can get them done for $200 or $300. But when it deals with real estate, it's a little bit different, guys, because we have so many things we have to think about and liability that we get exposed to and different things that we have to make sure in our LLC. One of the companies I've used forever, if you want to write this down, is Anderson Business Advisors. They're out of Seattle and Vegas. They're not the cheapest in the world, but 70% of their clientele is all real estate investors. Like, they understand us. They understand dealer taxation law. They understand trust and how to build trust and what goes into a trust and the LLCs. I mean, I don't have one in here, but when you get an LLC from them, it's like that thick, man. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it is super, super thick because it covers everything. Everything. So LLCs have always been my direction. Now, do I have other things I do? But let's talk about LLCs and their taxation and why that's important, okay? Is that when you open up an LLC, it's automatically taxed as an S corporation. I mean, it's not a S corp, but it's taxed as an S corp because you got to remember, an LLC is a limited liability corporation. That's what it is. It's a limited liability corporation. It's automatically taxed as an S, which means it's a pass-through tax entity for you, which means that if you're doing quick flips, you could be just like my friend in Colorado if they ever decide to come get you. And I'm not saying they will, but here's the reality. It only takes one for them to flag you as a real estate dealer, which means then you get hit with the taxation law for being a dealer as a real estate. So how do you get away from that? Well, you have to have an LLC, and when you set it up, or if it's already set up, you elect it to be taxed as a C instead of an S. So it's just a one-page document. If you already have it set up, you fill it out, you send it in, you re-elect it to be taxed as a C. If you're starting it out brand new, then you elect it to be taxed as a C. Now, there again, that separates the profits from that LLC to you personally, okay? Why is that important? Well, there again, we'll study the real estate taxation, study and understand the dealer classification, and you'll understand why we do this. So for me personally, I have an LLC that I set up for holds, and it's elected as it is set up. It's an S taxation, which means that everything that comes from that LLC, it comes to me personally, and I file taxes on it. But then I also have LLCs set up that are taxed as a C. So when I'm flipping in it, I don't have to worry about that hitting me as a dealer. Another reason that I do it that way is because I want to keep, my tax bracket at a certain level, because only Lord knows I pay enough taxes. So, man, I could fund an entire
Village
under civilized island.
Can we relocate the office to that island?
Jeez. Think about what I've paid the IRS over years. I could buy an island and build an army on it. So the point with that is that I don't want to pay them anymore, but I also want to keep myself safe, right? And so if you want to do that, then that's really the ultimate structure I would tell people. Now, look, if you're starting to make a ton of money and you're starting to flip, 40, 50, 60 houses a year, plus you're doing another 20, 30, 40 wholesale deals a year, and you're starting to buy a lot of cash flow and you're starting to buy a lot of holds and things like that, then what you need to understand is you might want to start looking at other things. You might want to really get an advisor on your team and really start digging in with maybe Anderson Business Advisors, okay? They're a legal, business, and tax advisory. I mean, that's what they are. They help with entities. They help with taxes. They help with everything, okay? Or as you see it right there on the screen for you. That is their design. Now, look, I'm not an affiliate of theirs or anything. I'm just letting you know, if you ever ask me, well, Zach, who do you use to set your stuff up? Well, that's who I use. I mean, I've done it for years. I've worked with them. But they understand what we do, right? They understand what we do. But when you start getting to that high level, then you might want to start looking at multiple layers of anonymity, multiple layers of structure. You might want to look at, LLC series and LLC umbrellas and start creating trust and beneficial rights. I mean, there's a whole nother world out there of layers and layers and layers. And which state do you open them up in? Like people say, well, where do you have yours at? Well, I have them here, but I also have umbrella companies that are opened up in Delaware, and I have some in Las Vegas. And the reason that I have those is because they own other LLCs. Well, those states are what we call an anonymity state. And anonymity means that they don't have to say who owns the LLCs. Like it just says the LLC, but it doesn't say who owns them. So it's not as easy for, an ambulance chaser, an attorney that chases the ambulance to just dig you up and see what your net worth is and sue you. So their anonymity is great. I love the fact that it has anonymity, but doesn't mean that if they're not, if they're subpoenaed, yeah, they've got to, disclose the information, or if they subpoena you or do a discovery, then yeah, they've broken your veil, and now you've got to disclose that information. So, so it's just some things you got to start thinking about. Okay. Did you get bonded in your business? No, I did not. Should I have an LLC for each property? That's a great question, Debbie. And
it's actually Mike.
Is it Mike? Mm-hmm. It says Debbie Barber.
Yeah, he's on his wife's Facebook.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, Mike. Hey, did I tell you about the tickets? We only got 9 general admission tickets left. If you have not registered, I've got a Do Deals event coming up. Tampa, Florida, June 8th through the 10th. You can go to the website on the screen, or you can always call our office. It's 3 days. It's packed full of information. I literally sold out of the golds. I've sold out of the silvers, and I've got 9 general admission tickets left. Get your tickets, okay? They're gonna run out. We're 30 days out from the event. We're already running out of tickets. So not that we can't print more tickets, but I'm saying we're running out of seats is what I should say. So, all right. So do I open up an LLC for every property I own? No. I have what's called an equity cap. And so what that means is like, I don't have a problem putting multiple properties into one LLC, but I won't let that LLC exceed like $250,000 in equity. Now, if I have one property that has $250,000 in equity in it, obviously I put it in its own LLC. But the reason that I do that, and some people go, oh, well, that's a lot of LLCs. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it is. But it's for protection. It's for protection, because if you have all your eggs in one basket and somebody decides to step on that basket, then they're all broken. But if I move my eggs around into multiple baskets and somebody decides to step in one basket, then I got all my eggs in the other basket, okay? And that's the whole purpose of it, because, it's not about if you will be sued. It's about when will you be sued, and it's about who's going to sue you, right? That's where it really lies as a real estate investor. So if you as a real estate investor start putting your protection in place, and it could just be a little LLC, the beauty of that is who is going to sue you. And in most cases, as real estate investors, the person who is going to try to sue you will be a renter. Okay, because they're looking for an easy payday. They're looking for like that lady that, walks through Walmart and hits a shelf so a cooler hits her on her head and she falls down and wants to sue him for, $160 million. Thank goodness Walmart had that camera there, right? Well, the problem is we don't have all that on our rental properties, and most tenants are looking for some easy way out, and I'll give you some examples here in a minute. But they don't have, in most cases, a lot of money to fight a lawsuit. So they go find an ambulance chaser that tries to see if the entity has any, assets or vulnerability that they can break through to, come after the owner. And does the owner have assets that they can sue? So they look at it from a pro bono type situation. And it's like, look, I'll take your case because I think I can sue Jill over here. And Jill's got a whole bunch of stuff that if I can break her veil, I can go after her personally. And, we'll get her house and her car and her savings account. We'll get all that. That's what these ambulance chasers do, right? If you have your entity set correctly and you're doing what you're supposed to do, they can't break the veil. They can only sue the entity. And so a renter doesn't have the ability to fight that in most cases. So if you have enough entity in place, you can't get, thrown under the bus for a frugalist lawsuit. And a lot of times that's what they are. They're frugalist, and they just want you to pay them out to go away because they say, look, it's going to cost you $15,000 to fight us in court. Just pay my client $5,000 and move on. That's what they come at you with. I mean, it's literally a shakedown. And ask me how I know. Like, it's a shakedown. And so if you're not set up correctly, then they're going to shake you down. I'll give you an example. First time I ever got sued in real estate, I was literally packing the U-Haul in my front yard in California trying to get to Alabama and got served. Couldn't get out of California fast enough. Give me one more day, I'd have been gone. I got served with a lawsuit, $150,000 lawsuit. I about fell out my chair. Like, I didn't even know what I was supposed to do. And it was all over a guy that I had wholesaled some properties to. And I had done what's called wholesaling to a financed buyer. And so he was getting financing and I got paid out of escrow. So I'd made a good bit of money on this deal that he was suing me over. And it was a house out in a place called Orinda, California. Very high-end homes. And I made a $100,000 assignment fee on this deal. And he was suing me for $150,000. The $100,000 back plus $50,000 in legal fees. And said I was in breach of contract. That's what he was trying to say. I was in breach of contract, negligence, a bunch of other things. Well, here's the thing. I couldn't be in breach of contract. So if you understand breach of contract says means that you didn't perform your agreement in the contract, which means the contract never executed to a close, right? But think about this. When I'm wholesaling to a finance buyer, I get paid out of what? Escrow, which means escrow doesn't pay out unless what? Escrow's been funded and the transaction's getting closed, right? Which means there was no breach of contract. He just bought a house during 2009, 2010, didn't touch the property for 2 years. This $1.9 million remodel house was now only worth $800,000. And he was hurt. His feelings were very, very hurt. He was ready to crawl up in a corner and cry. But his results were, I'll just sue everybody and get some of my money back. But here's the sad part. It took me $20,000 to get this guy on the stand to say, yes, he got paid out of escrow. And then my attorney says, well, do you understand the definition of breach? No. Well, here's what breach is. So could my client breached your contract if he got paid out of escrow, which means escrow is a third-party neutral company that only executes payouts once escrow's been closed? And he was like, well, I guess not. So he asked him again, well, is my client in breach? And he said, no, I don't guess he is. And that's literally what I had to pay for, to prove to the point that I was right. So the downside to that is he sued me personally because I didn't have an entity in place. Do you understand? It was so easy to come after me. So that was a lesson learned the hard way. Very hard. I'll give you another lesson learned the hard way. Well, actually, it wasn't learned the hard way. It was just something that happened. What's the lesson here? I don't really know what the lesson is, but I'm going to share the story with you anyways. I had a fourplex that I owned, and during my lovely separation and divorce, I had to sell everything I owned, which was a hard pill to swallow, but I have rebuilt. But during that time, I had to sell everything. So one of the fourplexes that I owned, I sold. Well, I guess it was like 6 months later, I get this lawsuit in the mail coming at me for, man, it was like $300,000 plus all this other stuff, because one of the tenants was walking down the stairs and slipped and broke his hip. And so they were coming after me to sue me. Well, thank goodness I was able to say, look, I don't own it anymore. So the lesson in that is it was a good thing I had to sell all my assets, right? So, but that just goes to say, like, they're always looking for something. And here is the lesson in this. When I sold that fourplex to the lady that bought it, I told her, look, those steps coming down off the second floor, when it rains, get slippery. You might want to pressure wash them and put those like sand grip stickers. Put some grip stickers down on those stairs so that people don't slip. I did tell her that. She didn't listen to me. So she didn't listen to me. She did not listen to me. And I'm sure they got sued. I didn't own it anymore, so I was out of that one. What we got in here today?
We got a lot of questions, actually,
what
going on here. Simona says, did you get bonded in your business?
No.
Okay. Eric says, sorry, not Vegas anymore for anonymity. Ask Anderson.
Good. I'm in Delaware.
Mike says, can I have an LLC in a different state than where I live? They're $800 each here.
Yes.
Yes. He said, if I'm investing in another state, should I have an LLC there?
Not necessarily unless you're holding in that state. If you're holding rental properties,
He is in Tennessee.
Yeah, so if you're holding, I would have an LLC in the state in which I'm holding properties in. If I'm flipping, you don't have to. I mean, you could, but I mean, you don't have to.
Eric says, preach it. Brother on when one will be sued. Love it.
What? Preach it. Brother.
On when one will be sued.
Love it. Right. Yeah. It's not about if, it's about when.
Eric also says, ask me how I know. Get out of California fast.
Yeah, California is like the suing state I've ever met.
Diamond said, didn't you say before someone sued you, if someone sued you, it would cost them 10 to 15K just to sue?
That's if you have what's called, in Diamond, yeah, but you have to set up what's called an FLP, a family limited partnership. And you can't put your business in the FLP. You can put you personal and your personal belongings in the FLP. Like you can put your cars, your boats, your motorcycles, your planes, your trains, all that good stuff, your jewelry, your guns, your paintings, all the valuable stuff that when they try to come after you personally, you can say, look, I don't have anything personally. I have an FLP that owns everything.
Eric says the deal had to close, man-child in California.
Yes, he was a man-child. He was definitely a man-child.
Michelle is asking Melody if she's going to Tampa. I don't believe Melody is going to be able to make it. Manny says Diamond Dependent, the LLC, you get 10 to 15K FLP.
Yes, get an FLP. That's right. The rebound effects off of an FLP to someone who's listen. And I'm not an FLP expert. We'll be talking a lot about more of that entity structures at the summit at the end of the year, November 30th through December 2nd. But you got to know the different layers. Like the businesses need to be one way, you need to be a certain way, and it just helps you. But look, if you ain't got nothing to lose, you don't need to worry about running out spending all that money to set all that stuff up. you need to get going with something, right? If that's just an LLC, then just get a little cheap LLC until you make some money and save up some money, and then go get a real LLC. I see it all the time where a student will say, "Well, I've got an LLC," and I'll say, "Okay, well, let me see your docs on it," and they send me like 5 pages, and I'm like, ugh, like what's this? Did you get this from thecorporation.com? Yeah. I'm like, okay. I mean, it'll work. You're now set up, but it's not the best approach for a real estate investor. There's specific things we need. And Anderson can talk to you about this. Manny posted a link for them in the chat. You can go over there. They have all kinds of stuff. I mean, they even have their own events that you can go to. They have entity formation, registered agents, entity management, asset protection, estate planning, taxing, bookkeeping, retirement. I'm sure if you got on the phone with them, you would be absolutely impressed with all that they know. I mean, they have a ton of information. Here's the other good thing about Anderson, which I've always liked about them, is that when you get an entity set up with them, you can always call back and get advice. That's what I really like about them, is that I can call them up and say, hey, look, this is something I'm having a challenge with. What do you think? So, and one of their, like, I know one of their biggest things that they like to position is what's called the personal structure, where like you have an LLC, you have multiple LLCs because they hold multiple properties based on equity position. But then there's a trust. So the property is in the trust. Okay. Then the LLC owns the trust. I know that's a big, like they talk about this a lot. Like when you're setting up structure, like to put your properties in trust and then put your trust in the LLC so that you have multiple layers. Okay. And then, your LLCs are all held by what's called a holding LLC. And I know, they're still, I still talk to them at least once every 2 to 3 months, but, they're trying to get me to go to Wyoming. I got stuff in Delaware, but they're like, Zach, you got to go to Wyoming, you got to go to Wyoming, you got to go to Wyoming. And so that might be something that you might want to look into, because they believe in the entity is all your LLCs need to be, positioned with a holding LLC. And then their other thing is what's called a living trust. Now, I'm a big fan of a living trust, 100%, because the reason is you can then wrap that living trust around the holding LLC, which then the holding LLC owns all the other junior LLCs, and those junior LLCs own the trust in which the properties are owned in, okay? Which you can start to see how that layer gets created. But why I love the living trust is because if you can set out terms inside that living trust for, like, let's say you pass away. Well, now that living trust owns everything, and everything it owns is making money. But the living trust can be set up to where it says, look, the kids, they only get so much money at certain times if they do certain things. And so, like, for instance, my living trust is dictated where, my kids at 16, they get, X, Y, and Z if, they have certain grades and can pass drug tests. At 18, they get, a certain amount more money if they have certain grades and have graduated and can pass drug tests. They also get a certain amount of money to go off to college with if, they have certain grades and pass drug tests and are not married, because I don't want them to be married going off to college. They get more money if they graduate. They get more money when they go to get married, but they only get that if they can pass a drug test and their husband can pass the drug test, right? So, like, that's the beauty of the living trust, right? Like, it lives on after you're gone as a management. So, like, I tell the kids all the time, even if I'm gone, I'm still managing you. So you have to comply to be able to receive. So that's a big part. So anyways, I don't want to get too deep with you there, guys. I have one page LLC. Beware of the owner. pet.
Revocable living trust.
Yeah, revocable trust are better than non-revocable trust, because if you have a non-revocable trust, you can't go back and change it. It's done. It's in writing, right? Revocable means it can be changed. So, all right, guys. Well, listen, I hope you've enjoyed today. I know it's that side of us that isn't always that fun to talk about, but it is the legal side. And there again, like I said in the beginning, get your own legal advice, seek your own legal advisors, get them on your team. You know, if you're going to build this, you're going to end up with assets. You're going to end up with a bunch of stuff that you're going to need to protect, and you need to structure it correctly. So,
yes.
all right. Hey, so listen, I hope you guys have a good week. Tomorrow, be back for the Dig Deeper show. We're going to be digging deeper into running your numbers. We're going to be doing a live deal in the boardroom. I'm going to put the numbers up on a board. We're going to run through it together so that you can see what I'm looking at, what you need to look at, what I'm looking at. And we're just going to see. Like, what do you think about the deal?
You want to run my deal that I'm looking at now?
We can run 2 deals. I'm good with that. We can run 2 deals. We'll run 2 deals tomorrow.
I'll let you run my numbers and do the investigation for me.
That's right. All right, guys. Zack Childress here and the lovely Jill. We will see you guys tomorrow. I'm out. Bye now.